Any other questions?
Do you want
Comments?
to tell us
Okay.
more about Snow White now? You've been building up the tension about what terrible things you're going to say about Snow White that you actually had to wait till the end to try to escape.
Yeah, it probably says a lot about me that I like to end on this.
Oh yeah.
So we have, and we're going to do the show of hands again. Who has seen the Disney version of Snow White? Probably
Nobody
everybody.
has seen it. Nobody has seen it. That's, no one knows what you're
no
talking
one
about.
has seen in all this time since.
Uh-huh.
Hey, no. Oh, I'm singing. No.
Yeah, the real version is called Snow White and the Seven Axe Murderers. And, yeah. It's like, spoiler alert.
Yeah. Kind of in line with the way many of these stories go. In the earlier versions of Snow White, we have we still have the evil stepmother. In really early versions of it, it was a less detached. It was her mother. Her birth mother was jealous of her daughter because her daughter was so beautiful. Her mother was vain and rich and just couldn't stand the idea that once her daughter matured and became a beautiful young woman, she outshone her. And so she wanted to have her taken out as competition. So knowing this, Snow White did run off into the forest. She did go to live with 7 little people. They did not, they did not have, the sneezy, sleepy, dopey traits. They weren't named.
No names.
There were no names.
7 nameless guys she shacked up with.
Like you do when you're on the
Frat
run
house,
from your
I guess.
evil, murderous mother, it
Mhm.
happens. Now, the mother did send a huntsman after her, who was supposed to cut out her heart and bring it back in a jeweled box. When the huntsman found her, he just couldn't do it. She was so sweet and so good.
Because he was a sap. He was a sucker.
Well, she was sweet and nice. What is he going to do? Murder an innocent in cold blood?
That's what he was paid to
Okay,
do.
yeah, well, he was paid
Job
to...
description, hunt.
No, he was paid to hunt animals. Oh,
Wasn't she also supposed to be 13? I think she was 7. Oh, okay, so she's a child.
it's another one that varies a little bit depending on the version. Marriage age was younger in some times when girls were considered to be,
You hit adolescence with certain physiological changes, you are marriageable.
Yeah, so the age does range a little bit, but yeah, it was young. She was young. When they say matured and came into her beauty, it just means her body physically matured. That's all that means. And the huntsman went to get her. So again, when you keep that in mind, he's looking at this child that he's supposed to murder and cut out her heart from her chest. He just couldn't do it. So he left her and wasn't going to say a word about where she was and didn't. He tried to protect her secret. He killed a deer and put its heart in the box, took it back to the mother.
Some versions it's a boar.
Some versions, yes. Brings it back, and I don't know if there are structural differences between a boar's heart and a human. You would think somebody, but maybe she hadn't seen a human heart before, didn't know. Either way, she took it to mean that the deed was done.
Yeah.
And oh dear. So later she did have a magic mirror in the earlier stories too, and Set asked the magic mirror, who was more basically almost kind of gloating, oh yeah, who's more beautiful now? And it said, no, Snow White is still more beautiful than you are. And enraged, she tracked her down, went to the house where she was living with the little people, waited for them to leave for work for the day, and first she came with a beautiful satin girdle, and as a salesperson, disguised herself and came in as a salesperson, saying, or as little merchant woman.
Girdles for sale. Door-to-door girdle salesman. Please let me in.
Exactly. And Snow White said, well, I'm not supposed to let anybody in. My friends told me not to let anyone in. And she said, I'm a harmless old woman. I'm just selling my goods. You can't appreciate my goods properly unless you let me in and try them on. So she agrees, and her mother comes in, wraps the girdle around her, and ties it so tightly that she's suffocated. She can't breathe, and she falls to the floor as if dead. Thinking that the job is done, her mother leaves her laying on the floor gasping for air, actually airless at this point. Luckily, her friends, her little people, they returned home early, and they found her, and they cut the laces of the girdle and freed her. She was able to breathe. And they again, said, okay, you really need to not let anybody in while we're gone. I mean, we need this.
No, listen, when we say don't let anybody in, we mean also girdle salespeople. Nobody. Do not open the door. Oh, I get it. Okay, nobody? It's like Five Nights at Freddy's. Don't open the door. Yeah.
But pretty close. So the mother goes back, talks to the mirror. The mirror tells her again, nope, she's still alive and she's still way more beautiful than you are. So she tries again. Different disguise, this time selling combs.
Okay, I gotta interject. This evil queen is like the most inept villain.
There's a lot of ineptitude to go around.
Dr. Evil. I mean, she cannot kill anybody.
She's mean and shallow. She wants to look at herself. She doesn't want to plot murder. She just wants to preen in front of the mirror and go, oh, look how pretty I am. That's, there's not a lot left in there.
It's all about the follow through, people.
Like Zombieland says, double tap.
Oh, wow. Not advice we want. I love that they're all like eagerly agreeing to this. That's awesome. And terrible, but awesome.
Is it really that hard to confirm the kill?
Well, she's not practiced at it at this point.
Who are you rooting for?
Exactly.
What's your problem, man?
Efficiency. I'm rooting for efficiency.
We talk about the goatee evil, where it all makes sense now.
Okay, so attempt
number 2. Mother comes in a different disguise.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, technically 3, but her first, her second in-person attempt, hands-on.
This is what happens when you send henchmen.
Okay.
See, yeah, they're always going to mess it up. So she brings beautiful jeweled combs this time with poison on the tips of the comb, and goes to knock, knock, knock. Sorry, not supposed to let you in. Oh, come on. Okay, sure. So still not putting up much of a fight here. I'm just a harmless old peasant, saleswoman. Yeah, I think I
totally unrelated to the last one.
Exactly.
These combs totally don't have any poison on them.
But I didn't tell you about the last one. I mean, yeah. So she combs her hair. She says, well, you can't really appreciate these combs unless you try them. And combs her hair with it, jams the comb in, jams it into her scalp, really, so the poison gets in there. And again, she falls over, dead-like. And the mom's just kind of like, all right, cool, job's done here, we're all good. Doesn't, check for breath or anything, just figures she's on the floor, she's down.
She has a magic
I'm
mirror,
done.
she could have just used that. Did she breathe it?
Exactly. So she leaves and goes through this whole process again. Hey, mirror, I did good this time, right? It's all me, I'm the hottest. No, still not. Still your kid that you keep trying to kill, and she's still prettier than you are.
You should have asked the mirror how to kill Snow White.
You know what? I never thought of that before. Why don't you just ask it for advice?
It's not Siri. It's not Magic Mirror, Siri.
Hey, mirror, I need directions. Yeah, no. So, third attempt. She's like, I'm going to do it this time. I'm going to make this. So she goes out with a different disguise with a little basket of poisoned apples. The apples are poisoned on one side, and only she knows which is the side. This time Snow White's a little smarter, refuses to let her in. So she says, okay, well here, just take one of the apples through the window and, try it. And Snow White's a little wary this time. So Mom takes a bite of the non-poisoned side of the apple and goes, this is really good. I don't know what your problem is. So convinced, she takes the apple, takes a bite out of this poisoned apple. It lodges in her throat, and she falls to the floor again.
Not even the poison. She did not chew her food.
This is just strictly a Heimlich situation. Yeah.
This is more of a cautionary tale at this point. But so, really convinced this time. She's really, really looking even more dead than the previous 2 times. So Mom's just kind of okay, phew, we did this now. And goes back on her way. The little people come home, and they find poor Snow White on the floor. They check her. There's no comb to pull out of her hair. There's no girdle to cut off her. She's dead. And they had come to love this girl who'd been living with them in their midst. They felt protective, and they cared for her. So they created a glass coffin for her and mourned around this coffin. While She's in the coffin. They're out there in mourning. They're
They didn't
looking
keep
over
the coffin
her.
inside the house.
No,
let's put it in this nice meadow for people to see and admire.
Exactly. Like, even though there's nobody else out there, but they wanted her, just kind of out in nature. It was pretty out there. So as they're out there and they're keeping guard over her body, which is, close into this coffin, a prince comes riding by on his horse.
As one prince is wont to do.
As happens, he just kind of happens by.
Keep going.
Okay. So he just kind of happens by. He glances over and he looks at this girl in the glass case and goes, "She's beautiful. She's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen." And he first offers to buy her from the little people.
How much for the casket?
Yeah.
There's a pretty lady in there. Yeah.
And the dwarves are just kind of like, they're a little skeezed out by this. They're like, "Yeah, no, we're not selling her." And he said, no, I love her. And they're like, "Oh, well, in that case, okay."
Well, if it's love, that's
love, then we're all
fine.
good. So
Or your trophy room.
a trophy wife. So he hitches up the casket to the back of his horse. For all he knows, hauling off a dead body that nobody discusses what his intentions are. It's never really discussed. The dwarves are just kind of like, "All right, cool, she's
We'll
not
let
our..."
you speculate.
Yeah, that's like, she's all yours, go ahead. As this coffin is jouncing along, jolting behind the horse, the apple flies out of her mouth. Her eyes fly open and she wakes up being dragged off by a guy. Seriously, she wakes up like, "Who are you?" Like,
Snow White, a story of literal objectification.
Why are we here?
You're not messing around there.
I'll try to hurry this up. What's up?
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so they get to, she does agree to marry him. They go to the castle, and the mother looks in the mirror again and sees that she's still alive and still there. Goes to their wedding, and in some versions she's invited to the wedding, where they, as wedding entertainment, make her dance in red-hot iron shoes until she dies. Happily ever after.
Yeah, this was actually Snow White's idea this time.
Yeah, it was her
The princess was
idea.
in on it, and no, it's not these shoes, but those are quite nice.
So
So it's
they
actually-
knew it was her that did it? They knew it was the mother?
They knew,
They
yeah.
figured out at this point that, yeah.
So these are actual humiliation shoes from medieval Germany. This is what they would have strapped the mother into and made her dance in. And the bell, there were screws at the back that pushed the toes into the front of the shoe, painfully, almost breaking the toes. And each time the person took a step, the bells on the front would ring and people would laugh. So it was great entertainment for them. But Snow White decided to take it a step further and heat them up red hot, which, just so you know, that's like 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit.
So crushed, melted, happily ever after, Mom.
Bones exploding from the heat.
Yeah. So that's definitely a merciless maiden right there. She knew what she was doing. She wanted it done. She asked for it. Her new husband said, "As a
Okay.
wedding gift, sure, let's do this." See a mom-in-law, which I guess is pretty smart on his part if you consider he's getting rid of the mom-in-law, like right off the bat.
Except mom-in-law was completely inept at everything. So.
Yeah.
I will kill you. No, you won't.
Call of Duty logic. Wait until dog temps drop.
Exactly. So these are our Merciless Maidens. We thank you all for coming out here, and we will be here tomorrow doing a panel on cautionary tales.
And on Fairy Tales Beyond All Recognition, worse than these.
Where we're going to be going into not even ones that Disney has, well, there is one that Disney has done, but for the most part they're going to be completely new, completely horrible. We've got cannibalism, we've got gore, we've got everything. Come on and get it. We're going to be good.
Come and get it.
It's going to be a good time. So
Thank you
Well,
for coming out
not
and
for
joining
people.
us. Not for people in the store.
thank you all.